Hi guys, welcome. So today we are going to be talking about client-side routing using React Router. So before we jump into client-side routing, let's kind of compare client-side routing with server-side routing. You guys should be familiar with it from back in Mod 2. Does anyone know what the difference between server-side routing and client-side routing is? Yeah, Andrew.
With a service-side routing, we're making like multiple GET requests for all of our different views.
Okay.
While the client-side routing, there's just one initial GET request.
That's a perfect explanation. So hit the nail on the head. Why is this so tall?
It's on wheels.
I understand. I don't like it. Anyways, with server-side routing, what you guys did a lot in Mod 2 was you had multiple routes set up on your server, such that a client or a person who hits your server will hit a certain route. Your server will serve them some sort of HTML or ERB page. To navigate to another part of your web application, your user or your client side will make yet another call to your server for another view. So maybe they're on the index page, and then in order to go to the show page, you click some link, but that response request cycle is started again. So you are going to request yet another page from your server. Your server is going to return some HTML or ERB. The biggest difference in client-side routing is it attempts to make the web application feel a little bit more native. So it's not different at all to the concept of single-page applications you guys visited in Mod 3. Client-side routing is actually just a single-page application. When the user goes to your web application, they will request your web app. Your server will serve them the entire contents of the web application. And that point forward, there shouldn't be any more requests for a brand new page. There might be plenty of follow-up requests to get more data or to manipulate data. But as far as like the user experience, they request a page initially for the application, and then there's plenty of components or plenty of stuff in your front-end application that's hidden, and then the user will be able to navigate to different routes, and instead of having your web application fetch some new stuff from the server, it'll just re-render your front-end, showing and hiding different components. A lot of you guys actually started to explore this concept for your Mod 3 project. You said unload the application, the user sees certain DOM elements. When they log in or when they click on something, you nuke the DOM and re-render some other view. So conceptually, we're going to be doing the same, and React Router is the tool that we are going to use to simulate that native application, that single-page application feel, but in our React projects. So React Router, I'm going to go ahead and open up the documentation for React Router. It is the first time we're going to heavily be using like a third-party library. So we're very much used to just doing create React app and starting our application with just React as our dependency. So for example, let me actually just delete this here. If I look at our package.json, the only real dependencies of this project is React, React DOM, and React scripts. Basically, React is the only dependency of this React project. If we want to use React Router to give us client-side routes, and although there are other libraries to help with routing, the one we teach is React Router. In order to install that as a dependency, we need to do npm install -- save React Router DOM. So a couple of different ways to use React Router. There's the web version, the native version, and like core. React Router DOM is the web version specifically. So I'm going to kill my server and npm install -- save React Router DOM. In the meantime, my server is not up and running, but in the meantime, I'm going to reintroduce you to the app we were making last week, known as Painter. I've refactored it a little bit. We had a Painter application that let's do this. So we had a Painter application way back in the day that all of the paintings were like one giant row. I've refactored it to make it be more of a grid. The more information stuff still works. At least I hope it does. Let's see, maybe it won't because the server is down, but if I click on more information, then the painting that I've selected shows up right here with more information about that painting. So down here, it's just the picture as well as the title of the painting. If I click on more information, then what I see here is that I currently have some current painting that says the title, the artist, and then information on the artist and then the dimensions. I also have my filter, portrait. So this is filtering my paintings, and then study of a young woman. So this is the application we were working on when we were learning about state. What we are going to attempt to do for this React Router lecture is we are going to attempt to add some different client-side pages to our application. So what we see here in our application is great. We see a view where when I go on the page, I see a nav bar. It's got Painter here, and I see kind of like this gallery view. So I'm drawing what's known as wireframes. Wireframes is just like quick sketches of like what my user will see. So this is something like our gallery view. When I click on any of these, we still see all of these paintings down here, but it would probably be a lot cleaner if we had a page just dedicated to showing off one specific painting. So I'd love to have a view with like a gallery view. I'd also love to have a view that looks something like this, where we have a nav bar still. We still have Painter. But instead of a gallery view, we see this details view, where we have a painting here, and then we have some description here. If I look at my code, so if I take a look at what we have to start with, I'm gonna take a quick aside to talk about our component hierarchy. So our component hierarchy consists of our app component. What does our app component consist of? Let's see, I'm gonna go inside components. So it consists of some state. So we have the state. Let me draw it down here. So the state currently consists of our paintings list. Paintings list, which is an array. It also has a search term, which is some string, and it also has a selected painting, which might be some object. For now, it's null, but selected painting is, if I click on a certain painting, I see more information about that painting. So our app is where state lives. Let's see what else our app has. So it has a component did mount. So when an app is mounted, we make a fetch call to this JSON server I have running. So I've started up a JSON server with these IDs that are all these like different UIDs. So here's a painting, here's another painting. And once I get that response, I set my state such that my paintings list is this array of 100 painting objects. What else do I have? I have a couple of event handlers. Hopefully you guys are very familiar with them by now. So on search change or on search handler takes in some event and sets the state of the search term to be the event.target.value. So this on search handler is, let's see, it looks like it's passed through to paintings list. So paintings list is looks like it's going to encompass the search bar, and then anytime we change the search bar, we change the state of our search text. So real quick, React. State search term is nothing. If I do portrait, this callback is changing the search term. On select painting is another callback. Takes in an event. We could probably have it take in the painting object. This is just an alternative way of doing this. So we're saying that the event.target.dataset. So each one of these DOM elements has a data set on them. And then we're saying find that painting in paintings list, and then set the state of selected painting to be whatever that painting is that we find from the array. This is probably a slightly less efficient way of doing it, but it works. And then what do we actually see in our app component? Well, we see our navbar. So writing out our component hierarchy, we have a navbar. We have painting details. Painting details. And then paintings list. So this is our component hierarchy from app. Let's see what navbar has. Navbar doesn't have any custom components. It's just presentational. It's a navbar. Painting details, same thing. Our paintings details component is like this component right here. It's just presentational. Paintings list has the search bar. And then it also has an array of painting components. So painting is a custom component. It has a ton of those. So that is our component hierarchy. If we go through the custom components we have, we see our search bar, our paintings list, details, painting is here, navbar is here. We have this about component that isn't being used right now. We can take a look at it. So let us go ahead and try to take a look at what this about component looks like. So import about from about.js. And let me just render the about maybe between the navbar and painting detail. So let's do about. And let's see how that affects our application. Okay, so here's our about. We've added it right here. Kind of like smashed it in there. So our app right now has a navbar, an about component, paintings detail if we select one, and then paintings list component, and then inside the paintings list component is the search bar, and then each individual painting. So our app is looking really, really messy right now. We could also make the about page its own kind of view. So we've talked about a few different views. So the gallery view, the kind of the show page view, and then we also can have this view where we still have a navbar, painter, and then about, and then some text. So let's plan this out. We could say that our home page is going to be our abouts page. So I could say that if the route is /nothing, then I would like to render just my about page. If the route is /paintings, I can render my galleries view. So right now, if I do /nothing, I see all my components. If I do /paintings, I still see everything in my app regardless of the route. Let's also plan for something like a show page, where if I have /paintings, and then /some ID, I see this paintings view. So what are the benefits of this? Well, if you ever deploy your application somewhere, and someone is looking at this really awesome painting of a goldsmith in his shop. So this would ideally reflect /painting / some ID. If you copy and paste this URL, or if your client copy and pastes this URL because they love this goldsmith shop image and send it to their friend, what their friend is going to see isn't the same as what their friend is seeing here. So we would like to set it up such that if a user navigates to a certain URL, they don't see the entire app, they see a very specific view. So one benefit is now you can copy and paste URLs and they'll work like most single page applications are supposed to work. But it also doesn't make sense for us to force the user, if they want to navigate from route to route, to change the URL. We should also add in some links. So for example, if I click on a button right here, if I click on this button, ideally that button should take me to this view. If I, let's have another button here that's like a back button. If I click this back button should take me back to this view. So now there's a couple of ways your user of your web application has to navigate the page. They can navigate straight to the URL, or they can navigate using links and buttons. No more of this like nuking the entire DOM in order to show a different view. With React Router, you'll be able to specify like when I get to a certain route, I want to show a certain view. Other things we could do is in our nav bar, we could say like have an about, and then if you click on about, it'll take you to this view, and then maybe in the nav bar, in addition to about, you'll have like gallery, and gallery will like take you back to say like this view. So like our nav bar is gonna have Painter. Where do you guys want Painter to take us? We could go to the About page or the Home page, or we could have Painter take us to the gallery. That's more of a design choice. Let's take it to the gallery. So if someone clicks on Painter, let's have it go to the gallery. So if someone clicks on Painter here, let's have this go to the gallery, and then About will go to the About view, and then Gallery will also go to this. So this is what we are aiming to build, a native client-side application where the user doesn't have to think about all this. That burden's on the developer. Yes, Marissa?
Is it good design to have two links be the same in the nav bar? To have like gallery and painter links go back to gallery?
It's possible that you'll see that from time to time. So what I've seen a lot is certain like nav bar items will be very explicit. So like this is the gallery, and then it's almost as if like it's kind of an Easter egg if you click on like the company logo or whatever to be taken to the home page.
Yeah.
So that's again a design choice. So we are now clear in what it is we're trying to build. We have all the components and we just need to get started. React Router, being a third-party library, has its own documentation. Just like with React, I think the React Router documentation is really, really great. The first component we're going to learn about is this component known as Browser Router. So Browser Router is actually the first component that you are going to need to import. Without Browser Router, nothing else in this application works. So what I recommend is if your entire app needs to use Browser Router, I would recommend just wrapping Browser Router, the component, around your entire app component. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So first thing, you'll have this component known as Browser Router. You only need to place it one place in your application, kind of like at the top level. So inside my index.js, I'm going to import Browser Router. So React Router DOM does not have a default export. Everything is a named export, so we have to use curly braces. Browser Router from React Router DOM. So when you see this capital convention, that means this is a component. So I'm going to take this component that I am importing from React Browser DOM and wrap it around my entire app. So let's see if our app is still working. So no errors. I'm going to get rid of this page because we don't need it more than once. So if I refresh the page, don't see anything wrong. Looks fine for now. Another thing you'll often see is sometimes browser router, because it's a long component name, is aliased. So to alias named components, all you have to do is inside the named import in between the curly brackets, you just have to say, I want to import router as like router. So now you've created this router variable basically that is going to take on the value of this browser router component. Go here, looks the same. What browser router allows us to do is to start using the route component inside anything in our application, especially if we wrap it at the top level. So we know that we are currently rendering navbar, about, painting details, and paintings list. What we are going to do is, instead of rendering the abouts, painting details, and paintings list, so each one of these is going to be a different route. The about is going to be this route, and then the painting detail is this one, and the paintings list is this one. What we're going to do is we're going to render a route component instead. So how we use route component is, I can say, instead of rendering this about component, I'm going to import this route component, and everything's a named export in React Router DOM. React Router DOM. And I'm going to say, I am going to instead render this route component like so. So, no errors yet. What the heck happened to my about component? I don't see it anymore. Let's take a look at how the router component works. So here's the route component, the route component. So I've imported route. I have to be sure not to say router when I mean route. Anyways, the route component is a component, perhaps the most important component in React Router to understanding and learning this library well. So how do we use route? Let's see. So it would appear that we have an example of how to use the route component on the right. Whoops. Okay. So a little bit hard to see, but at a minimum, we see that we have this prop called path, and we have this prop called component. So at a minimum, what you would need for your route component to work is you have this route component, but it needs to take in a prop known as path that specifies on what path should I render this route. So let's start with the about page right here. So we want to render this view on /nothing. So I believe path, this should say it's somewhere in the documentation, but path will, let's see, function, path. Okay, so path is a valid URL path or array of path that path to regex understands. So path is just some string or array of strings that is the path that should match this route. So what we could probably do is we could say path is going to be equal to /nothing. If I do this, check out my routes. I still don't see my about component. Let's see why not. So it turns out, when you have a route component, specifying the path will say, hey, when the URL is this path, I want you to show some other component or subset of components. How you can render that component, there's three different ways you can do it. Component, render, and children. We are mostly going to be using component and render. So when you are using a third-party library like React Router, you are kind of at their mercy, and you have to conform to their props. So this route component is expecting a prop called path. You can't change that. You just have to kind of conform to their standards because you did not create this component. It should also take in a path known as component. And I'm going to say the component is about. So if I see then the component I should see is about. So this is how this route component is going to work. So in the URL, if it is slash nothing, I see my about. If it's slash anything else, I still see my about. So the reason this is because path is a regex matcher, React Router is seeing the path in the URL as slash anything. So because the slash is contained inside slash anything, it's actually saying that yes, that is a match. So slash anything is going to match our about. If you want to say, no, I only want to render this about component, if the path matches this exactly, what you can do is you can say exact equals true. Yes, Anna. Oh, were you just stretching?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Okay, let's try this now. Okay, interesting. So slash anything, I don't see my about component. If I just do slash nothing, now I see my about component. So either way, we're still seeing navbar, painting details, and painting bliss every time. So slash nothing will show us all the things. Slash anything else will show us all the things minus about. And that's because we don't wrap these inside a route component. We're only wrapping this about component inside a route. The route is saying, I'm only going to show this component if the path matches this exactly. If you ever have a Boolean, or if you ever have a prop that is a Boolean, like it's always going to be true, one syntactic shortcut you can use is you can actually get rid of the equals true. And this is going to pass in a prop called exact where the value is true. So let's just regression test. So slash anything else does not show our about page. Slash nothing does show about. We can probably even change this to be an array of slash or slash about. Let's see if this works. So slash will prop path takes an array applied to a route except string. Maybe I did that wrong. Slash about shows us this, and then anything else. Okay. Path of type array supplied to route. Not sure what that error is. I'm gonna ignore it. Maybe I'll look into it and show you guys otherwise. But so now if the path is slash about, we see our about. Otherwise not. So let us go ahead and set up routes for all this other stuff. Let's start next with paintings gallery. I think that one's actually a little bit easier. So if
we were only going to show the about without the pictures.
Right now we are. Let's actually take all this out. So let's take out these components. So now slash about or slash nothing will show us this. Slash anything else will actually show us nothing. So this might be a great use case for like a 404 page. At a minimum, your app will actually always show the nav bar because it is not wrapped in a route component. It's just a component that will always be there. So that's also a nice design pattern. So let's work on this gallery view. Let's create a route component. And let's say route, the path is going to be equal to slash paintings. So if the route is slash paintings, then we show this component. And so what is the component we want to show again? Paintings list. So this one right here. Let's copy and paste this. And we'll say the path, and I'm going to go ahead and add in exact as well. So exact path and component is equal to this. Okay. See what this is. Okay. Error expected corresponding JSX in closing path for route. Oh, that's interesting. So I needed this closing route. I always forget that. Okay. Take a look at this. Okay. Get another error. Let me actually change this because let me change this path to just be slash to get rid of that one error. Okay. So we're getting an error that says invalid prop component of type object supplied to route. So turns out the component prop doesn't take JSX. The component prop only takes a component object. So based on the documentation, we can double check that. So React component, if the path matches, will render the component, the React component to render when our path matches. So if we don't pass it in a component object, this is technically not a component object, it's technically JSX. Our code will work. So what can we do? Turns out there's another prop that React Router can use instead of component. This prop is called render. And instead of a component object, it takes in a function object. And that function specifies the JSX to render when this route matches what's in the URL. So we're not going to use component, we're going to use render. And render, let me cut all this out. Render takes in a function. I'm going to write an anonymous function. So this is a function object. In my object, I want to return some JSX to render. So in my React app, if I go to /paintings, we see our paintings list. And our paintings list is made up of our search bar and a bunch of paintings. If I go to /nothing, we see our about page. Okay, we're starting to see some nice pagination. If I go to /anything else, we see absolutely nothing. So we've built out at least the URL part. So we haven't built out like the links in the navigating part, but we built out /nothing. That will bring us to our about page. /paintings will take us to a view where our nav bar is rendered and our paintings list component is rendered. Because this render prop takes in a function, we could make this a little bit more succinct. So our anonymous function takes in no parameters, and the body is a single line return. We're just returning some JSX. So we can minimize this just a little bit more by having an implied return. And let's see if this works the same. So /paintings, okay. Yes, this works exactly the same. So the last route we are going to build out is, we've done this one, we've done the about, is /paintings and then /some ID. So this is my portrait of Carthusian. His ID is this one right here. Ideally, if I do /paintings /his ID, I should see some sort of like a show page for that painting. So we can add in one more route. Let's match exact path. And the path we want is if the path of the URL on how the browser is /paintings /some ID, we want to render some JSX. So render takes in function object. We are going to say return paintings details. And I always forget to close out my route component. So this is the start of the route component, this is the end. You need the self-closing tag. And I still don't see my painting. Why not? ID. What about the ID, Nathan?
We need an ID for that specific picture we want to show, and we want a request based on that ID on top.
So request based on that ID at the top. What do you mean by request?
Painting / the ID number.
Mm-hmm.
We have to specify that.
Yep, so we specify painting /ID number. in the URL. I think you hinted at some possible ways we can get this information to render. So one of the ways we could get this information to render is we have the painting ID in the URL. We could, based off that painting ID, we could make another get fetch. So we could say get/paintings/ this ID and render this information onto the page. Because we already have all the paintings information inside our React state, so if I go here, we already have the information about Portrait of Carthusian in our state. So we could, instead of making another network request, which might be a little bit expensive, we could say, oh, that data is already stored client-side. The problem is, how do we get this paintings data? Before, how did we show a specific painting detail? We pass it as a prop. So we pass paintings detail as a prop. This prop is called painting. So paintings detail exists inside app. So we have this painting details down here. It's taking in a prop called painting. Where is this painting prop coming from?
State.
The state. So if I attempt to look at paintings detail component, let's see, do I see this painting details component? I see my app, I see my nav bar, I see, let's see, I look at this route. Nothing is rendering. If I look at my state, it used to be that in order to see painting details, we had to have a select painting. Problem now is that if I navigate to this URL straight, so what happens when I navigate to this URL straight? Well, my app will load. It'll call component did mount. Component did mount will populate the state here to be painting array of 100, but at no point can I ever update my selected paintings, at least not by navigating to this URL straight. So that's the thing we want to fix. If someone navigates to this URL exactly, we should have it so that they see the show view of the painting without having to first go to the gallery view, clicking the painting, updating state, and then showing it here. So we have to kind of rethink how data flows throughout our application. So when it comes to nested routes, so nested routes right here. Nested routes take in some param known as ID. So param ID. We need some way to get this param. One of the things that comes included with the route component is the route component will actually have props for all three of the render methods. So remember the three render methods are component, render, and show. All three of these will have props that is match location history. So I know that sounds a little bit odd. Let's go ahead and take a look at an example of this. So inside my route, for component and render, both of these, if we want to, can have access to what are known as router props. So for this render is a function. This render is also a function. We're working on painting details, so I'm going to ask your attention for that here. So render is a function that shows some JSX to display. The function that you pass into render can have access to router props. How that works is actually the same way as creating a functional component. So you can think of this as like we're creating an inline functional component. It has access to some props. Let's just console.log what are these props. So on refresh of the app, it's not working because, let's see, why is it not working? So /paintings, /IDs. Did I spell that right?
Yeah, that's, I think for the
Oh, paintings. Perfect. Thanks, guys. Okay, there we go. So, a couple things actually happen. So, we see this console log twice. Once when the app initially renders, and then another time when the state changes from an empty paintings list to a painting list full of 100 arrays, or 100 paintings, an array of 100 paintings. So, we see it twice, no big deal. So, inside this render, we have access to these router props. We console log these router props, and let's see what they are. They're history, location, and match, which is exactly what we see in our documentation. Match, location, and history. So what's special about these properties, or these props? History has some stuff you can use to natively interact with the forward and back buttons of the browser. Location tells you some information about the path name. What we want is, we would like this prop known as match. Match has a key value pair known as params, and params is an object that has a key value pair of ID. And this ID is the ID in our URL. So, combination of React was able to parse it such that when this URL was hit, it was able to say like, oh, I'm looking for an ID params. I'm going to set this equal to my ID params. So we know we first need to look inside match. So what I'm going to console log instead of props is I'm going to console log props.match. So props.match has this object known as params. So I'm going to now console log props.match.params. So props.match.params is this object, key value pair ID, and then the ID of the URL. So we go one more level, props.match.params.id. Ooh, wow. Will actually give us the painting ID. So what we can do now is, if we know this is the painting ID, we could do a couple things. I'm just going to go ahead and say let painting ID equals to this. And so my painting is no longer going to come from state. What we do have is we have the painting ID. We would like to pass in the painting that has this painting ID. So there might be more efficient ways to do this. I'm just going to choose to inline a find. So I know that in my state, I have, I broke it. Okay, that's fine. I know in my state, I have this array of paintings that after component did map, there's going to be 100 painting objects in there. So I can say the painting I want to render is going to be this.state. What's it called? Paintings list. Paintings list dot find the painting where the painting.id. So remembering that this is our painting object, where the painting.id is equal to the painting ID variable we have right here. So painting ID. So now I see portrait of Carthusian. Let's try something else. Let's look at all of our paintings. Let's choose a random one. I'm going to go like kind of a third of the way down. Here's some painting. I see that the title is The Kiss of Judas. Ooh, sounds interesting. Ooh, okay. So that's actually super pixelated. You can't even tell what's going on. But This is a kiss of doom. So now, if I copy this URL, and I think this is a hilarious painting that I want to share with my friends, I can now have this URL that when the URL in the browser matches this certain path, that will start on my React application. That will make a full request response cycle to the server, but what's actually shown, what's actually rendered, the routes are controlling what's being shown. The route is saying that if it is this route, I'm going to render my painting's detail component such that the prop I pass through is some painting object that I find from painting list. How do I find that painting? Based off props.match.params.id. So we have now built out our 3 routes. So /paintings ID will take us to something that looks like a show view. If I go to /paintings, I see my gallery view. If I go to /nothing, I see about /anything else. I'll just get nothing. We are now going to talk about links. And links is a component that you can import from React Router that allows you to change the URL. And remember that a change in the URL is the thing that is re-rendering our DOM. So what is actually happening is when there's a change in the URL, that's a change in router props. The change in props will cause our app to re-render. So ultimately, what I'd like to do is have a link. Let's go to my nothing page. Let's have a link here that is about and gallery. We'll put it in our nav bar. What I would like is if I click on gallery, that will change my URL to /paintings. And then my user will automatically be routed here. So that's the ultimate goal. We are going to put these links inside our nav bar. Inside the nav bar, I am going to import link from React Router DOM. Now that I have imported this link, I want it to appear in my nav bar. So my nav bar is just this giant div, and then this A tag is the painter icon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a link component. So link, and I'm going to say this should go to my gallery. So if I do this, I look at my React application, I get an error. You must specify the to property. So why do we get this error? Our link component, if I can find it, our link component actually requires this prop called to. Without this prop, we'll actually get an error. So it's a mandatory prop, it's required. You must specify the to prop. So link must have a prop known as to. And to is some data that specifies when this link is clicked on, what do I want to change my URL to? So if I click on gallery, I'd like to see this view. Well, what's the URL to see this view? It's /paintings. So I want this link to go to /paintings. So I do not see a gallery. I remember now. Semantic UI is really kind of finicky. I need to give it a class of item, I think. Item, and then I think it'll show up. Okay, yes it does. So if I go to /nothing, I'm on my about page. If I click on gallery, what happens is clicking on this link changes the URL to /paintings. /paintings is a change in router props that will cause our app to re-render, and the route components is going to say, okay, does my route match this exactly? No, I'm not going to render this route component. Does it match /paintings exactly? Yes, so I'm going to render the return value of this function. Is my route matching paintings ID exactly? No, it doesn't, so I'm not going to show this return value. So it actually does go and check each and every one of these. We have designed it so that it should only ever show one of these three sibling components. We could also design it so that, like, maybe you'll see abouts if it matches. Yes, Mike, what's up?
Can we check each of them? Do we have to do it like in Rails, or we should put it in order then?
Not necessarily. So in this case, it's just always going to match routes exactly. So it's not like it evaluates this, and if it's good, it'll like render it. It'll actually evaluate this as a yes, no. It'll evaluate this as a yes, no, and this as a yes, no. So something like this, where let's say we don't match this exactly. Maybe we'll match like paint. So now /paint will show about, and /paintings will show, oh, it doesn't show that. I thought it would match it. If we had some sort of regex, like just /nothing. So now this is an example where we see our about component and our painting list component, because React is evaluating this to be true, and evaluating this to be true, and evaluating this to be false. So it renders this, but not this. Exact is nice, because now you can know that only one of these three components will ever render. An alternative, which I was going to show you guys in a few minutes, but I'll just show you guys now, is you can wrap all your routes in a switch component. So switch also needs to be imported from React Router DOM. And switch means you can wrap all three of your routes inside a switch component. It works like in practice the same way as a switch statement does. It will actually now only ever render one of these routes. So the benefit of this is you now don't need exact, but you do have to be aware in your ordering. So you typically want to go most specific first to least specific. So if the route matches /painting/ID, render this component and then don't even look at these. And then if it does not match /paintings/ID, but it matches just /paintings, then you can render /paintings. And then if it matches anything else, we might be able to get away with not even having a path. Let's see. If it gets here, this evaluates to false. If this evaluates to false, and then what's left will show this. So now, /paintings will show the paintings detail. /paintings/any ID will show that ID. /anything else is the about page. So this would be a great use case for like a 404 page. Let's go back to our talk on links. So we were in the navbar. We were talking about links. We can say that from anywhere, we can click on our gallery link. It changes the URL to /paintings, and then we see the paintings list component. Let's add one more link. That is class name item. So this is what I need to do to get semantic to work. Typically, you might not actually do this class name in your app. We want this link to go to home, or let's call it about. Let's call it right before gallery, and then close it off. So if we're going to about, we need to go to just /nothing. So now I can go to about, or gallery, or about, or gallery, back and forth, back and forth. This link doesn't do anything yet. We can wrap it in its own link. So link, and say we want this link to go to /paintings. Oops. What was that? Put it before the div.
You would wrap the A tag, but you're wrapping the
Oh, I see now. Yep. Thank you. There we go. Okay.
3 weeks, 3
Okay. So we get a warning. A tag cannot appear as descendant. But if I click on paintings, go to my gallery. So about, gallery, about, gallery, about, gallery. Caroline is super excited.
That's really awesome.
So, no more nuking the DOM like you did in Mod 3. You can now have different views. I would recommend wireframing them up to understand your different views and then building them out. We're not quite done yet. We would still like more information to take us to this view here. So inside my painting card, let's go ahead and import link from React router DOM. And I'm going to wrap this button in a link component. So I'm going to fix the styling a little bit. So, and the link needs to go to somewhere. What is the URL we want to go to?
Painting/ID.
Painting/ID. So we're going to have to use ID. ID is going to need to be interpolated. So I'm going to go ahead and just wrap this in some JavaScript curly braces and say I want to interpolate /paintings/ the painting ID. The good news is we're in the scope of this painting component. We have access to our painting object. We can see that we actually put in a data set of our painting ID right here. So we can just say /painting.id. So when I go here, I can click on young woman with a water pitcher, be taken here. And then in my painting details, I can go ahead and add in a link that is a button. The button is back to gallery /button /link. Let's import link from form from React router DOM. So now, oops, I'm missing the to property. So where do we want this link to go to? /paintings. So here, back to gallery, choose a new bust, go back to gallery, portrait of Carthusian, let's go to the about page. Now let's go to gallery. Can we filter? Let's see, portrait of Carthusian. I can select this, going back to the gallery, still maintains our state. So that could be a design choice, or maybe you could code in some logic such that navigating to any of these routes will clear the state. So that might be a callback. But yes, Andrew.
Question might be outside the scope
Mhm.
that we're discussing here, but is there a way to set up like what part of the page a user is gonna look at when you go back? So for example, if we were like picking a portrait that's very far at the bottom of the list,
Mhm.
navigate to it and then come back and go back at the top.
Mhm.
Do you personally know of a way that we can like navigate back to see like?
Yeah,
what
you
kind
can
of-
absolutely do that. So the great thing about React, or React rather, is that it works with the native back and forth button. So just like I can go to Portrait of Carthusian and then I could click on back to gallery, or I could just click on back here. And I could backtrack and see all my history. What you could do is you could say, you could, in your gallery, maintain a state of like where your scroll bar is. And then on click of self-portrait, on back to gallery, if you maintain that state, you can maintain the view you see inside your painting list.
Neat.
Okay. So, we talked about links. So, to summarize, routes are the biggest component inside React Router DOM. In order to use routes, you first need to use browser router and wrap your entire app inside your browser router. Once you do that, your route component will conditionally render a certain component based on if the path in the URL matches the path prop of this route component. What links do is they change the URL to be a new path, and then a new path will cause routers to or a new path will change router props, and then the routers will go through and see what components to conditionally render or not render. And then you can use routes in addition to a switch to always make sure your user is seeing some sort of view, whatever that view might be. That's a design choice. So this was a relatively short lecture. Any questions?
It's real cool.
Yeah.
Do you, is it design decision to like decide, do you want to do the client side, routing, server side? You want to do both?
You wouldn't need to do both. For the most part, most of the industry is heading towards client-side routing. The benefits of that is it is less network bandwidth and a slightly more intuitive user interface. If your server goes down and you build a kick-ass client, the user will never know. It'll just kind of keep going, and you'll see that with a lot of apps. So I think Reddit actually does this, where if you keep scrolling up to a certain point, it loads all this information, and then if the server goes down, as the user, you still have access to all of your Reddit posts that have loaded thus far. Okay, go ahead and stop the recording.